Hey, this is Matt Zinman, author of Z-Isms, Insights to Live By. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my friend, Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and we are at episode 113. And I am super stoked to bring you my good friend Matt Zinman, the author of Z-Isms, Insights to Live By. The epitome of a go-giver, a huge difference maker. Matt is a family man, always giving back. He has charities. He has his plate is so full, but his goal is to help 100 million people level up. And so just having him on my podcast during the interview, I was so leveled up and so ready to go, and I'm so grateful for Matt to come on. So without further ado, here is Matt Zinman, my good friend. Hey, time to shine today, Varsity Squad. What do you wish your younger self knew? What life lessons would you share to benefit others? I got my guy, Matt Zinman, on right now. He is a rock star, and that just was part of the little description of his book, Z-Isms. And that's Z-ISMS, Insights to Live By. And I cannot wait to dig in and read it. I'm going to put it in the show notes. I'm going to have a giveaway at the end of this podcast of one of his books, where I'm personally going to have Matt autograph it and send it to you. So make sure you stay tuned. Okay, Matt is a difference maker devoted to and positively impact and personally enrich the lives of 100 million people by 2025. And I'll tell you, peeps, my money's on him. His book, Z-Isms, Insights to Live By, is based on his experience as an entrepreneur, athlete, single parent, caretaker, and a nonprofit founder. Matt is also starting up his podcast, Insights to Live By, which he's going to rock. And I will make sure that he stays in touch with me so I can roll it out to all you listeners as well. It's a podcast that invites guests to share their own pearls of wisdom. He's also CEO of the Internship Institute, which he established in 2007 to make experience matter. He's a lover of people. He's a go-giver. And Matt, welcome to the show. Come on, introduce yourself. But what emoji do you use most? Tell us that first.
The emoji I use most. That's a great question, Scott. And thank you very much. It's great to be with you. I probably use the thank you emoji most.
The little thing.
I use that a lot, and then I have this thing where I have like the fist with the cool guy with the sunglasses.
Right.
Like fist bumping. Since virtual
Absolutely.
fist bump is the other way I go.
What's the favorite color? What's your favorite color? Green. Why is that?
Hands down. It's just been everything. Colors from my company.
Nice.
It's kind of like it's like the can you see this? It's like the candy
I see the shawl in your background too, brother. It's green. It's
yeah,
awesome.
my office is green. Let's see here. My business cards are green.
Your book's green.
Book's green. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So if there was any question, I mean, it was like rhetorical if I ever heard one.
Green is a go color. It's growth. It's renewing. That's awesome. So Matt, let's dig in, man. What's the origins of Z-Isms, brother?
Yeah, well, it's something I've been wanting to write for a long time. It covers everything on the personal mindset and things I've learned about, and then relationships and interactions, but also looking to get into like mindfulness. But overall, I want it to be practical. So there's a life enrichment action plan, so people come out of the book with a framework and a sense of direction.
Love that. So you're with Z-Isms, you're a personal development and trainer, correct? Tell us a little bit about the origins of getting that started and what you do for people.
Sure. Well, right now, certainly in shifting gears from the nonprofit with the Internship Institute and in writing the book and now advancing into the podcast, things are taking their shape and unfolding in their own way. As you mentioned, I've set a goal for positively impact enriching 100 million people.
Yeah.
So I am less into coaching right now as I am working my way toward doing inspirational speaking and things through the podcast and otherwise in social media that are going to reach the masses.
Love it. So what do you think makes a great personal developer, speaker, person? What do you think makes, a great leader even? someone that's great at personal development, what do you think makes that great?
Selflessness is the first thing that comes to mind, and putting others before yourself. The more that you can look at, you mentioned go-giver. I think that's really a great umbrella for anybody in a leadership role, is to be a servant leader, and to what you put out and and give, you'll get in return.
I love that. And I love that you just said that you're open to reciprocation too, because a lot of people will say, give, but everything is going to come back to you in one way or another. So I think the more positive you give, I think you would agree, the more positive you'll give. It might not be in the form of monetary. Like I was giving last week, and my goddaughter called me out of the blue. She never calls me. To me, that was like a payback,
Right.
for that. And I was reciprocal from it. So if I'm out networking, which here in South Florida, we're out able to do that again a little bit. Other parts of the country aren't quite yet, out there pressing flesh and meeting new people. And I'm talking, not even talking, I'm listening to people, and what kind of phrases, maybe topics, something that they're saying that would make me think, to send them to your company as a great referral prospect, or something that I need to introduce to you.
Well, I mean, certainly the book is, and what I'm, all about in my endeavors now is around personal development, but not just self and within, but also interpersonal, and relationships, and then looking into areas of even the law of attraction and things having to do with entrepreneurship in terms of putting that into action for business goals, and achievement. Uh, honestly, the book is really for anybody who's in transition, whether it's later in life or whether it's coming out of college. And, you mentioned what I wish my younger self knew, right? So all my
Sure.
work with, I've had over 300 interns at this point in my career. So it's fairly evident, some of the things that would benefit them to know, coming out of school and stepping into the professional world. That's certainly covered. I think there's really something in it for everybody. And yeah, from my vantage point, and I know you'll have this in the show notes or whatever, is that there's the free part of the front end of the book is available, and that people can read that, and then they'll know if it's for them and want to keep reading on.
Love that. So without divulging too much of what's in the book, what are some of the processes that you have in Z-Isms that might help people find their blind spots and really level up?
Well, there's a combination from the early part. It like one builds on the other, right? So in the front of the book in chapter 1 is called Earned Confidence. So that is something that we talk about as one of 3 filters, the other 2 being mood health, and another being perception itself. So
Okay.
when you start with earned confidence, what you're really talking about is the simple fact that we've all been through what we've been through in our lives, and we're still going, right? We've made it through everything, and so it's a simple but not so simple reminder to ground yourself and not get caught up in worry and anxiety and stress, and to stay present and rely on gratitude to, while in the present, enrich your life. And, that's where the real joy in life is. And so starting with that filter and just being present, right, with that.
Love it.
And then the book is written as if I'm having a personal conversation with the reader. There are a number of disclosures throughout, one of which is that I've had to contend with depression since my teens. And something like that, in terms of keeping yourself healthy, you have to be all the more vigilant in what it is that you do to maintain that balance, that healthy balance. So certainly anybody can relate to their mood as another key filter to how you view the world around you, and you take the same set of circumstances with perception just the same and view them in completely different ways. So that front end, those are some of the early chapters, speak to each of those topics, and how you can find your objective vantage point to see things as close to as they really are, including in your interactions, and giving yourself and others the benefit of the doubt.
Love that. And so how did you see yourself growing through the process of writing the book?
Wow, that's a great question, Scott. It continues. even from the book into now. It's interesting. I asked myself, part of the book, gets into the like, what's my why? And when I apply that to myself and writing it in the first place, it is something that's been like almost a thorn in my side. Like, I really want to get to this. And, what would I regret not doing? Right. That's one of the key questions that was like, oh, okay, now so I sat down and I didn't say, well, I'm writing this book. It was more like 2 days of what are all these things that I feel a responsibility to get into a book format. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, I did it. And then I was like, no, not even close. So
I feel that.
So,
yeah.
Right. So then, I know that from your book pursuits. But it then helped me really bring everything together in a cohesive way and explore some of the topics that had always interested me, even in greater depths than I had to write the book itself. Things like that whole heightening mindfulness and the law of attraction and going with the flow, making coincidences matter. Chapter 11 is about 11:11. I don't know. Do you have a thing for 11:11 at all? Or,
no, let's go there. What's that about?
Well, it's just one of those triggers. People talk about it in an experience of synchronicity. So,
okay.
You're walking past the clock and it's 11:11 a.m. or p.m. and it's like, oh, it kind of smacks you like that coincidence.
Okay, I feel yeah.
And for me, it's just one of those things that you can rely on to fold gratitude into your day. It's like,
okay.
let me just stop and take a moment, and because it's easy to blink and never have experienced making sure that you're maintaining that groundedness throughout. So from a practical standpoint, that, or even setting alerts on your, on your phone, things.
Dude, I just wrote that down, man.
Yeah.
I was like, so I was going to say that at the end, set your alarm for 11:11 every day. Which will put you in that mindful set for gratitude.
Unfortunately, Scott, that's cheating. You can't do that.
But
you can't even set it for 11:10. You got to kind of, but look, if you can't, just one of those things. If it's what's meaningful to you. My wife is also a veteran. I know that 11:11 has a meaning for your service, and thank you also for yours.
I appreciate that.
And our wedding anniversary is 11:11. So,
really?
I mean, well, that's not a coincidence.
No,
wow. We planned on that.
Okay.
So there you go.
So let's hop in our DeLorean with Marty McFly then, man. Let's go back to talk to the 22-year-old, maybe 23-year-old, Matt. And what kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on him with the experience now to help him level up, maybe shorten the learning curve? Not saying he's going to listen, but what would you try to drop on him?
Right, that's a great question. I'm thinking, like, isn't that like 1980? That's November 1985. What was the exact date in that DeLorean that they went back
November 9th,
to?
I think.
No, you're probably right.
I
I'm going to take your word for it since you asked the question. It's interesting because, one of the things that in the area of what I wish my younger self knew, I have a son. Jake is 19, and he did read the book, which was a win, in and into itself.
Wow.
But when he went off to college, I wrote that dad letter.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wanted him to know, things like turning the page, everything that you've been through, in your high school days, you're going into a new chapter in life, just kind of use that as a grounding tool for what comes next, but don't necessarily drag whatever was with you. Everybody has that coming out of school, I think, typically, but treating yourself right, having setting your expectations as high as possible, because I do believe, and this is kind of somewhat of a law of attraction thing, that what you expect tends to happen.
Absolutely.
So, if you go into school and you're expecting not to make friends or to have a hard time or this or that, you're not going to adapt to that. Forcing himself into, myself into a discomfort zone.
Sure.
And all the way through, just what a dad would write. But ultimately, it's like, well, if you highlight everything, what's highlighted. And so the one point what I hit was, just make good decisions.
Love it. Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask, for how, like, a lot of I remember when I was young, I thought, I kind of knew everybody. And now, actually one of the chapters in my book is get your asking gear, and really being willing to ask for that help and be open to guidance. That's awesome that you wrote that letter to Jake. That's fantastic. So Tell us about a fail, man, where you failed forward and one that really stands out to you. I mean, we're all fail. You were an athlete, so you live in a world of failure a lot of the times as you level up. But like, tell us about one of the fails that stands out and what you did about it.
Wow, that's a fantastic question. Well, I'm still an ice hockey player. I won't go past tense on the athlete.
I still grapple almost every morning. So yeah, so paddleboard right to grappling. So I hear you. But
I'm actually buying myself some time, trying to which failure do I go to? Look, from my entrepreneurial pursuits, I've been working for myself since '02, and and that intersected with you mentioned I was a single dad. Jake was 2 at the time, and then naturally I'm remarried now for a few years, but there was that whole span. I would say that in those first years, starting my company, single dad, kid in diapers and bottles and doing all of that. I didn't leave enough room for myself in those years. I was so it was a this or a that. It was naturally taking care of him. My focus when I'm with him, and it's very compartmentalized, and then everything in work, building the company up. But I'd say my fail was not having just a little bit more balance that I needed in those early years, and maybe not asking for enough help that would have made things easier.
Right.
Don't get me wrong; I think he turned out okay.
He's good. He's good to go. So how often do you play hockey?
Up until recently, I've been playing a couple times a week and sub in for some teams. It's beer league now for me, Scott.
I feel you.
That's okay.
If you're catching this on YouTube, this guy, I'm just going to say it anyway. He's 53 years old. I mean, it's like he's pretty well put together. So, he's doing something right with that. So let me ask you something. How do you want your dash to be remembered, Matt? And, we talk about the dash here a lot on Time to Shine today. It's that little thing in between your life date and death date, that little dash. Like, how do you want maybe your epitaph to read? How do you want that dash, Matt Zinman's dash, remembered?
Wow. The first thing that comes to mind is just difference maker.
Love it.
It's something that's always been a driving force for me. Going back, I remember my first jobs, in my teens and things, just trying to always do something beyond what is. And, finally now, and I'm so grateful to be at the point I am in life and having the experience under my belt, finally getting to write the book, being here with you, and now recently setting the goal to make that massive impact. That I absolutely, not only believe, it's an inevitability that I'm going to see that through in terms of my expectations. So, that dash is going to say difference maker.
Love that. Matt, what's 3 things you can't live without? Let's take out your cell phone, internet, podcast, everything like that. What's 3 things that you can't live without? 3 nouns, person, place, or thing.
Well, the first thing I was thinking of was health, right? That's gonna come
Good health
first.
That works.
When you talk about that, I think of currencies. The one-word currencies. Love, health, time, energy, freedom.
Right.
Freedom is the one thing working for myself. I'm unemployable at this point.
It. Right.
So the freedom and my family and all that goes with that. I mean, there's easily more than 3 things to put up front, but.
I just make sure chicken wings is on mine because I'm kind
chicken
of a snob
wings
for chicken wings. That's my jam, dude. That's my cheat meal.
I'm just gonna say ice hockey. If you're looking more at concrete,
there you go.
Ice hockey, riding motorcycle.
I was gonna say, where's the hockey at, man?
Yeah, all right. Awesome. I'll be more practical. Go ahead,
Matt. What is your definition of a life well lived?
Well, I think there's a matter of legacy that is the first word that comes to mind hearing that question. So for me, certainly my family comes first, and still a young man, and seeing my family grow is certainly a big part of that. Writing the book, making a difference. Everything I'm doing right now with that is another thing. And then the nonprofit. There's I'm 15 years in with doing the work of the Internship Institute. It's focused on employers, around the quality and the quantity of those opportunities that
Right.
are internships and making them annuities. I have more work to do that's going to put the ingredients in place that's going to see that legacy through, but I'm very clear about what that is. So those are really kind of those three top things that,
Sure.
if I'm going to leave the world a better place than I came into it, that's
Yeah,
where
you
it's
want
at.
to help a lot of people. My mentors used to say, and they still say it, and I pass it on to my coaching clients and whatnot, is that, the more people that you mentor, the more immortal you become. You'll be remembered. That legacy is left. So if you're going to touch 100 million people, people are going to remember you. I mean, that's just how it is. And then leaving that legacy of what you had just said. So that's fantastic that you said that. So Matt, as we wind things down just a little, we'd like
Sure.
to move into our leveling up lightning round.
Wow.
And you and I could talk for 15 minutes in each one, but you got 5 seconds. My producer is saying 5 seconds. So no, seriously.
Waste no time. Let's go.
We're going to rock it right now. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Just be kind to yourself.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
I have a power hour every day. I don't give myself a choice. I have to work out and do things that are healthy for me.
For you, absolutely. So other than Z-Isms, what other book, not the flavor of the month or what you're reading now, what is one book that just stands out that you're like, someone's in the doldrums, someone's going down, you hand them that book and say, this book changed my life?
Offhand, it's Blink by Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay, great book, great read.
Trusting your gut instead of overanalyzing things, just
love
self-confidence. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you started that off even in your book about being confident. That's beautiful. So, what age would you be if you could be the same age for the rest of your life?
I feel pretty good right now, to be honest with you.
You look good.
I'm gonna go right now in the present. I'm really living my best life right now.
Good for you.
I'm having a blast being here with you. Yep, that's it.
Gotcha.
The lightning round.
Other than the Internship Institute, are there any other organizations or charities you like to give your time and or money to?
Honestly, I'm not really involved. I mean, my wife and I give to different charities, but in terms of time, no, it's the Internship Institute.
Your plate's full and you're doing so much for people. That's fantastic. And what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
I'm kind of caught in the 90s warp.
Okay. Dude, 90s? That transition period, you kind of moved out of the hair bands of the 80s.
It's like a grunge kind of thing.
Nirvana.
I was in Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins.
It's funny you said that because I was like, Amazon, play Stone Temple Pilots this morning. Literally the first thing I said when I got up. So that's awesome. You and I can
smelling like a rose
inside.
right now, right?
Okay. Like a rose. I love it. Love it. Love it. So how can we find you?
Well, the site is Z-Isms with that hyphen.com. On Amazon, the reviews have been very kind. And again, I just, in terms of making that impact, can only ask people to go check it out and read the first part of the book, and we'll see if it's for them.
Awesome. And folks, once you do that today, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes to his book. Go check it out. And if you go to my Time to Shine Today Facebook page, and if you leave a comment below the audiogram that I'm going to place there for Matt, the first one to do so is going to get a free autographed copy. And how that's going to work is I'm going to purchase it, send it to Matt. Matt is going to sign it, and I'm going to have the physical address to mail it to. So that's my gift to you. And I mean, Matt is like, when you pull up the Z-Isms, I mean, the authors that below him that they say also recommended is like Dan Kennedy, Joel Osteen, Scott Pratt, Robin Sharma, Gary Vaynerchuk. If you wrote a book and these people are down there that are like that caliber, I mean, just imagine the knowledge nuggets you're going to pick up from Z-Isms. So Matt, do us a favor and leave us with one last knowledge nugget that you want them to take with them. Internalize, live, take action on.
Honestly, in synthesizing all these conversations, it really comes down to why be anything less than kind to yourself. And then knowing that, just be kind to yourself. It's a yes or no thing. It's not like self-respect, self-love. All those things are real, you're kind of grasping at.
Sure.
Self-esteem, you're grasping at. But if you always come back to kindness, starting with yourself, but also toward others, it's really just a yes or no, I am or I'm not. So
I love that.
You use that in a practical way to kind of build everything else up.
Wow. You know what, squad? We just had our minds blown by my good friend Matt here. He's selfless. He's a servant leader. He's going to stress you to not get caught up in stress, but when you are, stress gratitude. Stay mindful, stay present. I know he doesn't want you to cheat, but I want you to set your clock for 11:11 every day and remember gratitude, because it's going to ingrain, just like that old vinyl record, it's going to ingrain. So you don't need to set the clock anymore for that time after a while. So do that. Be a difference maker. Leave a great legacy. But most of all, my friend Matt said, be kind to yourself. Matt, you're hungry, you're humble, you're fired up, you're leveling up your health, you're leveling up your wealth. Now you're part of the Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. We're stoked for your new podcast. We're stoked to get your book. Now you're part of our squad. You can't go anywhere.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Thanks to your listeners as well. Really
you bet, brother. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.